Hello and welcome to another Guardian show. This is episode, I want to say 7. I can't remember.
Say 7 then. Just go with
7.
your feelings.
There's 7 people watching, so it'll be episode number 7. Welcome to.
Oh, it's down to 6. It's episode 6 now.
Obviously, Ali and CJ are here with me as well. How are we doing, gents? I know it's been a mad rush.
Yeah, okay. I got no hobby news because I'm still in this strange halfway house. Yeah, but I'll be moving to a new place next week, and I can have my hobby stuff. So
nice.
Yay.
I've actually done hobby. Like,
are you feeling alright?
Well, it's been a few times in a row now. I've actually done some vague hobby, but I've been converting some more Grim Hammers into Terrible Warriors.
Oh yeah. You were taking Warriors Variable, chopping them up.
Yes, so
to make Warriors Variable.
Yeah, pretty much. Isn't that what most people do? So yeah, like these ones specifically, they are just the top half of the armored Warriors Variable stuck to the bottom half of a Grim Hammer, and then I've got the custom shields I got from somewhere. I don't know, not worth plugging on this channel really.
No, they didn't come in a really useful box, did they?
And then the other sort of 6 are basically just the shield, some reposing, and like axe attached to the hand, which I also got from some place that's not worth mentioning.
Excellent.
So is this just to have unique poses?
No, it's because Grim Hammer models are cool, and the Warrior ones don't. Basically, I've already done it for like 14 Spearmen, and for an upcoming event, I realised I may need some without spears, and so I now had to do another 9-10 to use in that army, unless I want them to stand out.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, though, the Grim Hammer models are probably my favourite plastic infantry kit anyway that GW produce.
They are really cool. I got out my Hunter Orcs today actually to tidy up, and I think they look pretty cool.
I'd hate the Hunter Orcs. Not in how they look, just painting them was the most. The 12 that I did are the most painful experience of my life because they've got so many little bones and sticking out. It's just like you think you've done all the detail, and you're like, oh no, wait, there's all of this other stuff as well, and it just takes.
I think my plan is to use like some inks and like just glazes and just do it that way. Maybe some contrast. Just get them done like that.
Contrast may work actually.
Yeah, I've got
maybe because I've still got 2 boxes I haven't painted.
Because I've got 11 of them, 11 contrast paints out in front of me.
I may get round to actually doing my Hunter Orcs again.
No, I also cleaned up some hobbits, because and just like took them off their tabs and cleaned off any flash, etc. Because I had some new and some second-hand ones, so cleaned all of them up, and there's a lot of them. So, evening on in the chat.
So we got Mr. Bonner, Gunderbrad, which I'm guessing is
Bradley,
drunk idiot from Cardiff.
He's not from Cardiff, though, is he?
No, but he's a drunk idiot who was in Cardiff last time. Jack, Josh. Oh, so we got Josh DeVoy, even though Geffen isn't here. I thought they came as a pair, to be honest. No. Like one in the chat.
Like 2 for 1. No, Geffen just can't be with us tonight. Life is life. It gets in the way.
And you won't miss him because we'll bring up Helmingas at least 5 times, so it'd be almost like he was here anyway.
So you brought them up once. Helmingas. Right, we're done.
No, I think we need to do it like at 5 separate occasions.
So yeah,
like Beetlejuice, if you keep saying it, he will appear.
Grimbold just still won't have a horse.
Yeah.
I saw an amazing low effort forlong conversion the other day. It was literally just they put the horse on the base off to the side and a forlong was stood next to it.
I've seen.
Well, it works.
I've seen someone do that with orc trackers. I think it was. And exactly the same thing. And then and then the other one that we both saw, I don't know if you saw it, Ali, It was the high elf on a horse. The high elf
Yes,
archer on a
loved it.
horse, and he was literally just standing on the horse.
So my first ever GVHL event, my first ever game at a tournament was against some. I don't know if I should name him or not. A bit like basically,
will we know
he
them?
you may recognise the name. I mean,
Okay.
they don't do it anymore. This was like really early days, so it was just if we could get people to turn up, like it was
Okay.
fine. But basically, he had Dwalin blue tack to a pony, Thor blue tack to a pony, just like all of these. But the thing is, it didn't even seem odd at the time because it was like my first ever event. It was just like, oh, that's what people do.
What? Right. So glue tacked feet on pony, or like to the
Oh no,
side
base,
of the pony.
circle base, on top of the pony, who was then on the cavalry.
Oh, so it was a Thorin on foot model with the bottom of his base glued
And then
to
he
the
gets
pony.
dismounted. You unblue tack it with me. I mean, it's very efficient. So
That is incredibly efficient.
yeah,
That's
Love that.
incredibly efficient.
don't know why people look down on it really.
Oh, that's so funny. Once we finish this, you're gonna have to tell me who that was because that makes me chuckle.
Well, we end up having a discussion about like I love seeing those low effort comedy conversion stuff. Just If you want an ent that's made out of garden twigs and super glue, I'm all for that. That sounds hilarious.
Yeah.
But make sure the super glue is our sponsor,
God, yeah.
Gorilla Glue, to make all your low effort ends.
Oh God.
I realised I didn't mention any sponsors last week, so that's why Geffin's not here. Like we've had to cut him because the sponsor cut our funding.
Yeah. It's just
I don't
how it
remember
happens.
who did it, but there was somebody that just got sheets of pasta and made like terrain houses out of it, and it was just the funniest thing.
Like lasagna sheets.
Yeah, just like there you go. There's the walls of the house. There's the roof. Just a bit
To be
of,
fair, it's probably quite a good building material in many ways.
Yeah.
I was gonna
until
say-
it gets wet.
Yeah. Or until there's any pressure on it, because lasagna sheets just go.
Yeah,
What would you have for thatch? Spaghetti?
yeah, spaghetti work.
Spaghetti for the
sure,
thatch?
whatever.
You could probably use, the like flatter bits of like linguine
Oh,
to do
yeah.
like decking.
Yeah, I was thinking like penne because they've got the lines on it for wood grain along the side.
I know penny you just build into like your tree trunks as like your actual like posts in your wall. You can make your palisades out of penny.
Jesus, I just feel so culinarily inadequate right now. Just like, what are you all talking
I am
about?
definitely not a colouring genius. I can tell
If
that
you wanted
much
to
now.
as well to make
Ooh,
farming equipment, you could use
That's really
facility
spooky.
to like stick like either side, and then you've got like a little like ploughing machine and lawnmower and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
As far as
great.
I know, you're just making up words now. So
Yeah, I'm sure all of our Italian viewers can like confirm.
Sorry, I'm just trying to sort my light out.
let's get Tommaso Zerbi in.
Yeah.
Oh, you drew with Jay in the championship round. Also, we need pasta recommendations. We have terrain to build.
I'm really tempted now to just make a diorama purely out of pasta.
If you make some marshes out of pizza as well, that would just top it entirely. Oh, funny.
Toppings. Right, where are we?
Funny. We are chatting shit as usual.
Yeah.
What else have I done? I've done some printing. I've ordered another 3D printer. But this time an FDM one rather than a resin one.
You're going to end up with a pile of shame, which isn't actually models, it's just printers you don't use anymore.
I already have terrain that's printed that I haven't painted yet. And my pièce de résistance is I have a Rohan Stronghold box that has still got its cling film on.
It's just an investment.
Yeah, I keep being bugged to do it.
They're actually a really nice kit to paint stuff easily. Like, they're going, just go some paint and then like dry brush.
Yeah, I'm planning.
It's like looks good.
Planning to just whack the airbrush out, just airbrush the shit out of it. So nice and simple. But no, apart from that, yeah, I've cleaned up a few models and done some commission conversion work. So they are ready to send this week. And that's that. So,
I just saw Bonner's request for the Incredibles pasta is pasta, man. We should get our
Oh,
resident
dear.
expert of memology, CJ, on it.
Wish is my command.
Oh dear. Right. So the plan for tonight is to do a time top 5. The layout's going to be a little bit strange because we haven't got 4 of us on, and I didn't have time to change the layout. So CJ will be either side of the
You
line.
did have time, you just couldn't be asked.
No, genuinely didn't have time. Thank you very much, Alistair. And then we'll get into a little bit of chit chat about tournament etiquette. It's a topic that we've discussed in our little chat for a while, and just thought it's something interesting to discuss and how we would go about different situations. So if you've got some situations that you think are interesting and what you can ask what we would do in those situations, let us know in the comments because it's really good.
I mean, you can name and shame people, but we probably won't read out their names.
Yeah, no, we're gonna avoid giving names because that's unfair. unless it's someone like Alice.
Unless it's a funny situation.
Unless it's you, Ali, pretty much.
Well, yeah.
So I, as usual, have half my books with me, and the other half of the books I'm not entirely sure where they are.
I don't have any of them. I've decided time top 5 is much better on hard mode when you don't have any of the books.
It is very funny.
Because then you start forgetting things that we talk about all the time, like Helmingas.
Yeah, that's probably good for the better. Some pens right in front of me. Right. We will switch layouts now, and I will go. Oh, let's get the actual one we want. Huzzah! So here we go. Let's go for a spin. It is flying profiles.
Woohoo.
So
have we not had this
5?
before?
no,
Yeah.
we've had like flying
heroes
monsters or
right,
flying
okay.
heroes.
Oh, you know, yeah.
And we're off. So yeah, we've got flying profiles. Your top 5 flying profiles.
So it's
Depending on
like the top.
who you play, there some profiles which don't normally have fly end up flying at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's going to sort of just be the flying monsters, but with bats involved and cribine.
Yeah, I think so. And those two pretty much come in, so it's where you put them.
Thank you, Charlie, not for your request. We can have a look at that in a minute. Right.
Charlie, not are you just wanting a comparison between those lists? Because if so, we can discuss them. Why have I put 6? I'm only doing 5.
I've just seen the format on the other screen. I'm sharing 2 boxes. This is great.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Right.
Oh dear.
Too many of them.
Yeah, there's loads.
I've already got my top 5.
Have you?
I literally just smashed it out in like the time that it took you to read Charlie's comment. See, I decided like my gut instinct is probably the best instinct in this
No,
situation.
double cross yourself. Double cross yourself.
Okay, I'll put Helmingas in.
I mean, yeah, if you get hurled, anything's got fly.
Yeah,
That is correct.
well, I do have a special mention, but I'll save it for when it comes around.
I bet you I've forgotten one.
Yeah, it's like Fell Beast, and then it's which profile? Because yeah.
See, they don't even figure in mine.
Oh, really? Okay.
Spoilers.
I mean, I know that you don't like Gulliver, so that really does make it difficult.
I never said I didn't like Gulliver.
Everybody's like, well, should I use Gulliver? And you're like, no, he's a glass cannon. He's terrible.
He is a glass cannon, but Stephen, you are correct.
Oh, I like them Crinbine.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess that's an autocorrect, but that word doesn't make any sense either.
unless it's Scottish.
To be fair, Bono is so Scottish, he ends up typing in Scottish accents as well.
He is very Scottish.
That is the cool thing. You can have Sebastian now with Radion Eagle.
You could always have him with running.
No, because it was a completely separate profile.
What do you mean?
So when Radion Eagle first came out,
oh right,
because it was a separate, so you couldn't have Sebastian.
You say
so,
you can now, as if the new edition dropped a month ago.
Oh yeah, like I mean, yeah.
There's a minute and a half left.
Since I was using Eagles regularly.
Oh, do I put him in instead? Yeah, he's got to go at the top. Oh, yeah, that'll do. Cool.
Charlie, on your question, by the way, is there like a max point you're going up to on that? Like, is it like 500 to 700, or
yeah?
Should let us know. Give us all the detail in the world.
Yeah, and is it just between those 4 factions? Because I'm really intrigued. Yeah, any tournament questions, let us know, and we will note them down and discuss along with our tournament etiquette. I wish you could have Gandalf on Eagle.
Gandalf on Eagle, yeah.
Back in Fellowship of the Ring days, you could.
I really wish you could.
But actually, I can't even remember whether it worked like, say, Felbeast do now back then. I think it may have literally just been as a passenger.
Yeah, I do wonder how you would play him. Bearing in mind, obviously, he doesn't have his staff. And that is time. That is time. So, let me go back to...
You can have Gandalf the White on Eagle as well if you go by the books, isn't it? Because doesn't Gwaihir retrieve his body from Misty Mountains?
Yeah,
it flies up to Mount Doom on Gwaihir as Gandalf the White, which was a good 7 Stones army that somebody did.
Oh yeah, very good, very good. So, team, let's start with number 5. My number 5 is a Bat Swarm.
Cool.
They're useful. No, just the half fight value, especially in a Morian list where you don't have much high fight, and I just think they're really handy. So, Alistar, number 5.
So my honourable mention is the Goblin King throwing a goblin, because that thing is lethal when it comes off, especially against a lot of flying monsters such as Felbeast.
Oh, because it's just a shooting attack, isn't it?
Yeah, but it knocks you prone automatically.
Yeah, I've had Imrahil be dismounted by Josh Triffitt.
So yeah, my number 5 is Gwaihir.
Gwaihir.
I feel like we've talked about Gwaihir a lot, so
yeah,
I don't
continue
need to go into that detail.
Stephen, this is just general tournament etiquette, whether it be in the pandemic or out of the pandemic. CJ, number 5.
I've gone for Gully.
You've gone for Gulliver.
Yeah, it's the 5 attacks on the charge, get the knockdown, do all your monstrous stuff. You got might to do combats, and then you stick a shade around so that your opponent doesn't have a realistic chance of doing much.
Yeah.
The amount of damage he can do with a strength 8 hurl is horrible. So even when you were winning fights around a shade, you were then just, I can't strike. So, yeah.
Yeah. He's good. He is good. You're number 4 then, while we're with you.
I've gone for Witch King on Felbeast.
Witch
Extremely versatile and complete pain in the ass. Often in conjunction with Gulliver.
Here's a question: how are you building the Witch King? That is in roughly. So say it's 700, 800 points. So average size game.
I don't know. If you got the crown, I think you go sort of 13 to 15 will, and then 3 might, 3 fate. That's pretty much it. You can stick a Morgul blade on if you got points going. Kind of a useful tool to have sometimes, but not always. That's about all there is to it, I think.
Because I always have an issue with the Witch King on Fell Beast with the crown. Is one, I feel like if you've got the crown and the Fell Beast,
points.
and you're not maximising the benefit of both. Sort of like if you're on a horse, you get much more benefit from the attacks increase on the crown than you do if you're on the Fell Beast.
To be honest, the crown's worth it for the casting and resisting rerolls on its own, more or less.
Yeah.
So the attacks is just.
But then the other thing is, I don't like having the Witch King, who will often be your general, be the combat focus of the list.
Yeah.
Because Ring Wraiths are still 1 wound. I mean, you can have 3 fate, but we all know how fate wells can go sometimes. There's just the amount of times I've seen like players sort of go in, just get unlucky, take a wound, and then the Witch King dies, or whatever Ring Wraith. But I'm not saying it's bad chat, it's just that's why I personally have a slight hesitation about.
I think that goes for pretty much any Wraith on Felbeast.
But the thing is, like, if I took Kamul on Felbeast, it's less likely to be as detrimental as the Witch King is.
Yeah, my thinking is if you give him the crown, you can basically avoid giving him 3 will. And then if you don't give him the crown, then you have to give him the 3 will. So the crown's probably only worth like 15 points in theory.
Oh yeah, I just rather go for the Witch King on horse with crown.
Yeah. I've not run him in anything other than an Angmar list, so a horse is all he needs. So Josh has just said a Witch King 313-2 Felbeast crown is only 185 points.
Or 2 fate if he's your general. I'd always give him 3.
If he's on a horse, I give him 2.
Yeah, he's got him on Felbeast though.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, excuse me.
Brad's put his hand up.
Cool. That's a really interesting question. Actually, we'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah.
So, Ali, you're number 4.
Gulliver. For everything that CJ says, and also like quite natural fight 7 is pretty handy in terms of
it's
outfight pretty much. Is it 7 or is he 8?
He's fight 7, strength 8.
Yeah, but anyway, he's higher than 90% of heroes in the game.
Yeah, I think 7's always that fight where you want to have a hero out if you can.
Yeah. Obviously, he can't strike, which is one of his main drawbacks, and he is only D5, and he gets weaker when that happens. So, as we often say, he's a bit of a glass cannon, but if you can manage him well, he can be incredibly devastating.
Yeah, definitely.
Witch King's also a bit safer to sort of throw around as a cannon as Gulliver is if you've got, barrows and a shade backing him up. There's not much to be worried about.
No, definitely. Like Josh says, like he doesn't lose combats. If he does, he's struggling a lot, but it's the shooting that always hurts him. Always. I hear of so many people going, oh, yeah, Bard was on the board, and Legolas was on the board, and Gulliver's dead.
I mean, GT 2018, I didn't have any shooting.
Well, you did. You did. You threw an axe at him.
Okay, but I still did 3 wounds in the combat before when he lost combat.
That's the thing, that if you lose combat, he's gonna take wounds, and then it's an uphill struggle to get him back to full health.
I think generally, actually, just as a side note, an issue with flying hero monsters who are often your general is because to maximise their impact, their might becomes it only affects them often.
Yeah.
Because they'll be out on your flank or doing something weird, so often you'll need a might caddy hero behind your lines anyway to do all of the heroic moves or stuff, but that's just a side tangent.
No, that is entirely true though. Like I've had or played against people who not overextend their flying monster, but you kind of go, cool. Now you're gonna have to use his might for a heroic move if you don't want to get countered. Just because they judge it wrong and it's like 7 inches or whatever, and there's just nothing you can do. So my number 4 is Guahia. Yeah, for all reasons said, very, very good. Alistar. Number 3.
My number 3 is the Warbats of Gundabad.
Ooh.
Being
Excellent.
able to, one, just 25-point flying model,
Yep.
really handy in a lot of objectives.
Is it the cheapest flying model?
Crabine 20.
Crabine 20.
Oh, Crabine 20.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
I don't know what I was thinking of 30, but then the pluck rule can be really handy at knocking down banners / taking them out of the game, shamans, any foot wizards or heroes or anything like that, put them on the floor. And actually they can hit a lot harder than you think because of where they -2 defense and their strength 4 with 2 attacks. So if you successfully manage to pluck someone with 1 or trap them, which you can quite easily do, they can actually, with a bit of luck, take out some heavily armored stuff.
Yeah. So can you say you're like the lines of clash and your warbats behind your line? Can you fly like 6 inches over, pluck someone, and then fly 6 inches back?
I will get back to you because that is the one book I've got near me.
Excellent.
Just before I commit to an answer and then realise I'm wrong.
CJ, you're number 3 while we're at it. Crabine.
Because they are all but immune to shooting. So like a lot of flying models, they're still infantry, so you are weak to being run over, bat swarms especially.
Yeah.
But the fact is you got a 2 attack, 4 wound flappy birds that go and sit on objectives and you can't shoot them off them, basically. I did the math at some stage when they came out and it was like you were going to need something like 26 elves on average to shoot them dead in one go.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's pretty grim. Have you got an answer for us, Alistar?
So the pluck special simply says pick an unengaged man size or smaller enemy model that is moved over and roll a d6. On a 4+, that model suffers strength 4 hit. If it survives, roll another dice. On a 4+, that model is knocked to the ground. So it doesn't say that you can't go that way and then back into the model if it's then been knocked over. But you do it at the end of the warbat's moved, so you can't guarantee with that specific warbat that model is going to be prone before you charge them.
Okay.
So basically, you can go and pluck that guy and charge him, and then you roll the 4+s to see if he is prone.
Yeah.
Or you could just have 2 and one goes that way. Is he prone? Yeah, and then the other one just goes in.
Yeah, no, my thinking was if, say, the line here is here and the banner's back there, and you kind of go over and back. That's
you can do that.
Yeah, cool. Handy, because I've got 4, I think.
No, I think they're really good, obviously.
Yeah, I think they're handy. My number 3, surprise CJ, Gulliver. He's really good. I haven't used him in earnest really, but I've always seen like anyone who's I've seen take Gulliver to an event, they always have a game, maybe 2, where it goes wrong, and suddenly they're playing 200 points down. I know Dave Clubley's played Harry Moore before, and Clubley's had a catapult, and like turn 1 or turn 2 of recon, it's like boom, Gulliver's dead. Just the catapult hits him square on the head, and that's the game. Or not the game, but suddenly it's like playing 550 versus 750. Harry has also played Jay, I think, at Ardacon, and Bard with Lake Town. He's just gone cool, pew pew, dead Gulliver.
So you're trying to justify why he's on your list by explaining why he dies.
Yeah,
isn't amazing.
No, I think played well. He is really, really good. But I think
for me, anything below 800 points, he feels an expensive risk.
Yes, agreed.
which
To be honest, anything has got its counters, and anything expensive is going to be felt as a loss if it goes.
Fi-
Like the
fi-
Watcher is probably the strongest Moria profile, but I think for 200 points he's well worth it if you use him right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Elliot.
I mean, you
Yeah.
say everything's got its counters. I don't think Helmingas does.
Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, they do. They're defense 5 or 4.
Haven't lost a game with them in my Theodred's guard.
Oh God. Well, you didn't even use them in one tournament, so that's
Yeah, I mean,
that's not fair.
still undefeated in the other one that I used them.
Yeah, okay. No, I just think Gulliver played right is really good, and like you say, it has to be where he is a support to a Witch King, a Tainted, a Shade, something like that. Where he's not gonna get caught.
Never have a Measure General.
Oh,
I've seen
God,
some
no.
people like run it and get sort of lower points going. Oh, they don't go for the Witch King as well. I think that's a mistake people make is they go, Gulliver's amazing, I'll take Gulliver, and then they go cheap on the other heroes, whereas you kind of need the Barrow White, the Witch King first, and then if you don't have the points for Gulliver, you go Birder.
Yeah, like my whole thinking is, yes, Gulliver's amazing, but for 10 points more, I can get Birder and 2 Barrow Whites. Like, and for me, that just seems more flexible. Because Birder doesn't have to go against something that's paralyzed. You can just go against a hero that can't strike. So, yeah. My number 2 is Krebine. Objectives and whatnot, they're just super useful. Just super useful. And yeah, they can't be shot or killed that easily. Even they've got 4 wounds. That's a massive thing as well. Like I charged a Witch King into one of them at Ardacon and had 8 dice because I knocked him down, but only caused 2 wounds. And that's just how it can go. So, Alistair, you're number 2.
Krebine.
Krebine.
Yeah, they're just really good objective. They're not that expensive, as I definitely knew before CJ let me know that they were only 20 points. They're just good at what they do, and you can drop them quite easily into any Isengard or Dunlin list without it actually being a point sink at all.
Well, it's 2 Erics.
Yeah, generally, if I see an Isengard list above 500 points that doesn't have Krebine, it's there going, either you didn't have the money to buy the models or they were out of stock at the time. If you're going competitive, because I can't see any other reason why you wouldn't.
I think an Isengard list at any points, 500 above or below, if you've not got one of them, like you say, your list isn't optimal. I just think they're super, super good. CJ, you're number 2, please.
Go here. Drop him into everything. Cause havoc. Have fun.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's annoying me about lists I've seen recently is Guahia's in everything.
You know the thing though, because I do see loads of people,
especially on the continent.
Yeah, like talking about it. In the UK, other than Jasmine, who road tested it at an 80-point event, no one's actually done it successfully in the UK yet.
No, I've played against Sean at home with Minas Tirith and Guahia. I was also running 2 big Great Beasts at the time, which obviously isn't the best counter. But to be fair, one Great Beast just kept smacking into Guahia all the time, and it was quite amusing because Guahia wasn't doing anything apart from just wrestling with this one Great Beast.
Just sounds like you, like with your dog, like when it wants attention.
Yeah. If you did hear a dog bark, that's outside my window. It's not my dog. So, CJ, kick us off with your number 1.
Go Bat Swarm.
Bat Swarm.
Just because when you use them correctly, you can do absolutely nothing about it.
Yes. Especially in conjunction with a Balrog or a Watcher.
Yeah.
Good luck
with
that.
The issue with the Balrog is it does the strength 10 hit on whatever it whips, whereas the Watcher, it's optional. So you just, here you go, I'm going to eat you, and then and it kind of operates in a different way, but yeah, and then you can drop it in with the Spider Queen into lots of different things on a yellow alliance. So people like Jakob Krockmull have done a lot of good with that.
Oh, Josh.
That is the most Dale Grey thing I've heard.
Yeah. Good evening, Michael. Nice to have you here. Alistair, you're number 1.
Bat swarms. I don't think there's a model in the game that quite makes an army list work competitively like bat swarms do.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing profile.
More you can like survive without bat swarms, but it's very hard to justify why you wouldn't take them and go down that route.
Yeah.
Because you don't get bat swarms in the Balrog Legion, do you?
No.
And
you get K-Trolls.
Yeah, but I think the main reason people don't like the Balrog Legion that much is because at the end of the day, it's like, oh, you can just take bat swarms. Like, and like that's better half the time.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Balrog Legion's been tested.
No, but it narrows you down. And one of the nice things that probably CJ will agree like about more is you've got loads of tricks and things and tactical ploys you set up, which 8 times out of 10 involve a bat swarm somewhere.
Yeah. See, a bat swarm or an enraged beast, which is quite often a bat swarm. So, because they only take 1 strength 9 or 10 hit, don't they? So yeah, a bat swarm.
Strength 10, yeah. Bat swarm, even then, that's not a guaranteed wound. So.
Yeah, a bat swarm you can just go, cool, you go nuts. Because they're 4 wounds as well, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you turn it into a 4 attack, strength 5, fight 3, little mini tank that will halve your fight value. So unless you're starting at fight 6, it's now higher fight than you.
Yeah.
So you can just send it to assassinate virtually anything that's not a hero, and sometimes even a hero on its own.
Yeah. Or you look at any kind of Rohan hero, they're all in trouble.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. My number 1, and thank you Stephen Bonner for this, is the Desolator of the North. It is Smaug.
Well, it is the strongest profile, but it's also like never going to win an event.
Unless you're really lucky on the scenarios.
Yeah. Oh, that's a point. Harry Parkhill's event. How many points is it? 800?
Oh god, I know what you're thinking now.
You just take.
What you mean? He's your general day 1, and you turn up with a completely different army day 2.
Correct.
Ooh, love it. Do it.
So who would be your lieutenant though?
Oh, you'd have to chuck in.
You got 100 points.
You chuck in like a Gundabad orc captain with a shield and some chaps, and then the next day you fill it out with hunter orcs, and you have like a 50 model army.
So if you're doing that, I'd probably just go like Witch King of Dol Guldur or something like that.
Yeah, but Smaug.
No, but I mean, as in you go Smaug and the Witch King of Dol Guldur.
Oh, so I was having this conversation about this list with someone on Discord this morning, perhaps, and he was saying that he didn't want a Nazgul of Dol Guldur because he didn't want them to be their general.
I did see that. I was tempted to,
which was interesting.
There is a really successful list, I think, in the German meta where it's you take Keeper of the Dungeons because he's Fortitude, and you get him to lead a couple of spiders, but mainly Castellans of Dol Guldur, and then on the other side you get a Gundabad Orc captain who is your leader. Defense 7, Keeper can go kill stuff without being the leader, and he's leading just a ton of war bats.
Oh god.
And so your front line is just this automaton defense 6 doesn't die line while the bats
I had a conversation with someone, I think, in the YouTube comments about, oh no, it may have been on the Facebook competitive page a while back during the pandemic about it, and it's the first time I was there going, that's a genuinely interesting list, which I've never heard anyone talk about before. But I think if it's the same guy, he was chopping up quite effectively with it as well.
Yeah.
Because what, they 2 attacks, fight strength 5? Fight 5?
Yeah, 2 attacks, strength 5, defense 6. Essentially got 12 fate points.
Yeah.
Courage 6.
Do they lose 1 in combat?
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure they do. I've got the book here. Give me a second.
You go ahead.
But yeah, no, the guy who was writing the 800 point hunters whatever list, I was fiddling around with this one myself. I got about 47, 48 models in the end, I think, and it was Gundabad captain, but instead of having chaps, you just had an ogre and 2 bat swarms. So you've got a monster.
They don't lose will in combat, by the way.
They don't.
Yes.
Oh wait, no. Actually, does it come under the Will of Evil special rule?
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah, then they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So essentially, you've got some turns to try and.
Yeah, they've still got 12, and they're still defense 6 and fight 5. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. In theory, let's say they've got 7 rounds of combat in them.
Yeah, probably.
I like Steve's idea. Go with Smaug and 2 mercenary captains. You just claim your objectives that way.
Oh.
But then they're fortitude, so you wouldn't be able to do that on a yellow. Naughty Steve.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You could do Smaug, Gundabad Orc captain, mercenary cap. No, you couldn't because they're 50 actually, aren't they? The mercenary captains. Never mind.
Generally was reading Josh's comment, mate. I feel it's a castle and list with Dale. I was thinking he was on about the army, and I was like, you can't ally that together.
Yeah, I did exactly the same one. Hey, no, I'm wrong. But no. So yeah, those are our top 5 flying profiles. Let us know whose you think is the best and what you would do. So yeah, it's
One thing I will say about like the cheaper sort of flying, so Cravane's Warbats, Bat Swarms, is they're so easy to trap models with.
Yeah.
Where they can jump over. And that's where half of like the damage comes from, like, because you can just go, cool, I'm gonna sit here, and now if you've got like 4 Crabane, you could just trap someone's entire front line, really.
Yeah, really super great. And to be honest, they're probably not gonna die.
No.
So
not that turn anyway.
Because they all defense 4.
They're only
Bat
3
Swarms
because
are
they're just
3.
yeah.
Bat
And
Swarms are
Warbats
3.
are 4.
Crabine are 4.
Crabine I thought were
Crabane
3 just because they're
I thought
just
Crabane were
flesh.
like 3 or 2.
No, the Witch King was hitting them on 4s when I played Simon.
That could be
It doesn't
defense
mean you're
3
doing it
still.
right.
Oh yeah, it could be defense 3 still.
Yeah.
And I don't have War in Row hand on here.
Not sure why Warbats are defense 4. It seems to be just like if you're bare flesh, then you're defense 3. But
Yeah,
anyway.
I can't remember if they have
Which apparently Corsairs are, but late turn aren't. But moving on.
Oh god, this conversation again. I am a human Forge Rod. I want to see if Bat Swarms have. Warbats have armor on them. Because I don't know whether they do or not. It's a really annoying thing. But no, we'll move on to our topic for the day, which is no, they don't have armor on. I thought they might do. They're just massive fuck off bats. Yeah, we'll move on to a topic for the evening, which is tournament etiquette. So if you've got some questions, please chuck them in the comments, and we'll go and we'll discuss them as we go. So how do we want to approach this? Should we start with how you approach the table? How you approach your opponent? That's probably a good way to start.
Could do pre-tournament etiquette.
Yeah, let's go with that then. So,
which sounds like it's a topic that shouldn't have anything of substance, but actually, yeah, I have had quite a lot of people over the years just be like, "Oh, I'm not telling you what I'm bringing," and bollocks.
See, you'd have loved what I did at the Masters and CJ, because we all knew who we were playing, but obviously we didn't have to reveal our lists, even though we had to submit them in advance to the TO. So I told Jasmine right off the bat, going, "This is the army list I'm taking." Like, and because we were players, like, and it's like, you can either believe me and like absolutely tailor to like build this army list, or
to beat
like,
one person over a tournament.
And like it was just the whole mind games of her going back and forth. I was like, am I going to do this? Like, because it was dwarf, so it was quite likely that I would be. In the end, Jasmine tailored and took Assault on the Helm's Deep for the first time. Just about beat me, and then lost her other games because it was designed to beat me.
Yeah. Oh, you're back. You froze for a second, like
Yeah,
coming back
internet
to
in
your
my
chair.
location's a little bit
That's alright.
crap.
So yeah, like so pre-tournament.
So my thinking with this is oddly painted models
Yeah.
based.
Well, painted to what the rules pack says.
Yeah.
Because
So I'm
obviously
just more going through is like topics. So you got
Yeah.
painting and making models, army lists, tape measure, rule
Yeah.
books, and stuff like that. I have varying degrees on what I would consider actually necessary or
Yeah.
like really important. But I know people have differing opinions on it.
Yeah. Josh has made a good point that you and him you got confused over which one was his chieftain because they're similar. And they are pretty similar. The only way to tell the actual GW chieftain apart from the others is he's got two little triangles that come off his back banner. I know with my banners I've made the dragon symbol have a bit more stuff around the outside to make it like more distinguishable. My number one etiquette thing that I think everyone should do is get your army list to the TO before they ask for it. Like, there's a deadline. Just do it. It's not hard. You know what you're going to take. That's the thing. As a TO, that
it delays.
It delays first round draws. It delays everything. Just yeah. Getting your list to the TO on time is polite. Yeah. They've put a deadline in. Just give it to them by then.
Yeah. Along those lines, read the rules pack. So many people don't. It's just like, there you go.
Yeah, they just buy a ticket and turn up thinking it's going to be a normal singles event,
like,
where sometimes you've got custom scenarios, you've got custom objectives.
But for example, my event, which I've run in Winchester a couple of times, the scoring is done first by VPs.
Yeah.
Not by game scores. The amount of players that I've had who are competing in the league turn up, and then on the day I'm just like they're going sort of first game. Now remember, like it's VPs scored, not like games won, which will decide your rankings. And like someone go, what?
Yeah.
it's like yeah, it's in the rules pack. Like it's just sort of. I mean, it's more detriment to yourself than anyone else if you're not reading it. But there are other things in the rules pack, just like knowing what time to turn up, how long you got for lunches, all that stuff. Which it's just nice for everyone if everyone's running to the same schedule.
Yeah. On a similar thing to army list, Josh Tier said TO's actually checking army lists.
You wouldn't think that was an issue, but I got pulled on that massively once. So I took a 500 point, what I thought was a 500 point Moria list to, I don't know, about 2-3 events and won those. And then I was going to go to Club Lee's event.
Yeah.
And he said, this is 537 points. And what it transpired was there was a bug in that edition of Lonely Knight, so it was missing the shields off my models.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, I basically had to go back and go, right, well, here's your prizes back, give them to whoever came second, because, yeah. So,
nice.
Yeah, you'd be surprised that TOs don't actually check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so
I know.
James Braun famously at one of the Throne of Skulls was using I think it was an 800 point army, and turns out in a 700 point event. I've accidentally used an extra eagle when I was using my eagle list, but what made it even better is I was playing the ringer, the TO round 1. And he did check my list because like that looks a bit over points, and then he didn't math and somehow made the same mistake I did. But then someone else noticed it before day 2 started. But it's just one of those things where.
Well, didn't James Braun not win and do pretty poorly when he had 800 points instead of?
No, he did actually win.
Oh, he did.
Well, like he won all of his games, and I think he would have won his category. But then, like after the event, when he realised he did the same thing as CJ, and
No,
also at the moment, because of where I'm uploading all the top 3 lists from GBHL 100 events, the amount of times that there's slight mistakes in them, they're not like major ones. Sometimes
Yeah.
it's like a warband limit has been exceeded here, or someone's like can't count properly and is like
Yeah.
1 point over, or actually weirdly sometimes they're 10 points under, but they've just calculated.
Yeah.
And oh god, actually, while we're on the subject of army lists, just write them out in a legible way. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing worse
Like
than
sending
seeing.
them to the TO, and Michael Haskell's point, when you how often do you check your opponent's list?
Not points wise. I normally look at it and go, cool, it's got that, and that, and then
Yeah,
like, put
yeah,
it
yeah.
down.
So,
It's like a 30-second look.
yeah, Michael says he prints a list out and takes it with him every time. And to be honest,
I try to.
I used to, and it's something I don't really do anymore.
I do and I don't. It tends to be if I remember to grab it from the printer when I leave in the morning.
Yeah.
And also, usually I'm only taking my army. I don't like have excess models now when I go to an event. And so my running through the army list is I go Theodred's leading, these four, and then you actually see it out on the tabletop. Because for me personally, I visually prefer seeing an army list than I do can digest it looking at a bit of paper.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a good
But
idea.
yeah, you generally actually nearly every rules pack does say bring an army list on day, paper version, so people can like look at it.
Yeah.
There's only been one occasion where I picked up on an opponent's having the wrong points. It was their very first event, and they turned up with just like Faramir and a captain and some bog standard Wompt, and sort of did a quick scan of that. He had a banner and a war horn. It's like a 333 point event, and very quickly in my head, I'm like, no, because 26 times 8.5 is not, And then it turned out that Battle Scribe had not included any of his war gear in the points cost.
Don't use Battle Scribe. It's
Battle
the worst
Scribe
thing
is
in the world for SVG.
Yeah, I don't like Battle Scribe at all.
So I had to help him very quickly
Rewrite his list
properly and then play the game.
See, I remember at Into the West once we had someone who used the old rule book, not knowing that a new one had come out, so their points were wrong. And also, actually, another example that I had is going to Preston, the Battle of the Five, There and Back Again had just come out.
Yeah.
And I was using Young Foreign and Young Barlin, and I wasn't the only one. Like, we didn't realise there were new profiles for them at the back of the book in the appendices, because it had literally only just come out, and so everyone was there. Turns out I was equally 10 points over, but also I was using inferior profiles because Barlin should have been having 2 attacks or stuff like that. And I only knew because I played Jay round 2, and he was like, "Oh, I was keen to see how the new profiles work out," and I was just like, "New profiles?" It's like, yeah, they're at the back of it. It's like, oh,
I'll just take this one guy off.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, no, like even as a TO, even with someone who runs an event with me, you can miss things on lists. I know there was a mad rush before our event in July because someone took Helm's Guard, but didn't realise Rise of Rohan did count towards your bow limit. And so yeah, in a mad rush, like the day before, I went, "I'm really sorry, your list is not right." Just by chance, it was one of the ones I happened to look over. So like everyone can miss things, but yeah, TOs should be checking lists.
I've been tempted before as a TO to generally have. It kind of works a bit like Tawny does, I suppose now, but like a format that you must submit your list in, so it can automatically calculate everything for me as a TO. So 1, I can read it easily, and 2, I can immediately spot any errors.
Yeah, no, I've thought about doing a similar thing and being like, right, it must be submitted using Lonely Knights Army Builder or something like that. But then again, not everyone has
access to that
access to that or Microsoft Office or whatever. So not quite sure how I'd do it.
It's all doable when you've got like 30-man events. It's once you start going 50 plus.
Yeah.
And if you've got like Good and Evil or something like that, as a TO, that's
a lot
going through potentially 100 army lists. And not feeling like your eyes are going to bleed afterwards and still
Yeah.
spotting all like errors and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's understandable why it
Yeah.
happens, but that's why you should just make sure it's correct when you submit it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
I agree
pre-tournament.
with Michael's thing as
Yeah.
well, though.
So pre-tournament, take the books. Minimum, take the books your army uses. Minimum.
Mhm.
If you don't have the book that's got a profile for a Legendary Legion, don't take the Legendary Legion because your opponent might not have them. Unless you've
here's a
got a picture of it or something like that. As long as you've got access for your opponent to look at.
Along that line, how do you guys feel about people who have it as an app on their phone, like the ebook on their phone? Because I find it really awkward. Like, so if they've got a rule that they're trying to explain, I find it awkward, like taking someone's phone to then look at the rule, especially in current times and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's worse now, as you say.
Yeah, because technically they have got the rule book with them, so there's actually no issue with that. I was just more wondering how you guys feel about using like ebooks instead of like taking 5 hardback books with you to an event.
Yeah, once it got past Gondor at War, and it was just there's too many books now. I can't be asked with this. It's heavy and it's awkward, and I've got a bad back. So it got to the point now where if I can get away with it, what I'll do is I'll just photocopy the pages I need, and that's it.
See, I just take the books I need for my army and assume everyone will do that, and therefore we'll have all the rules that anyone needs.
Yeah, like for me, I've always had a mentality of take all my books. That's getting harder and harder. I have managed to find PDFs online. I know not technically the right thing to do, but there's PDFs out there of all.
To tell my thing with PDFs, I don't mind it on a tablet.
Yeah,
the screen's like big enough. It's when it is actually on a phone and it's just like zoom in. It's like cool. I can read one paragraph.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is even the right profile anymore.
So I've got PDFs for both armies books, Gondor at War, Scouring Quest, Rules Manual, and War Rohan. So yeah, I think that's all of them.
Yeah, the FAQs also when you chuck it all in, as Josh just pointed out.
Yeah, the FAQs are difficult.
There's got to be a better way for them to organise that.
You
know what I would like actually, because you know how they kind of organise it into certain categories, but they're not actually categories. I'd rather if it just was there going, this is the update from January 2017. This is then the September.
But then the same rules wouldn't be next to each other.
Yeah, but you can then just erase like any redundant rules. Because part of the issue is like, I don't know, it just does, it needs some breaking down somewhere. Like either like just put some subheadings at least to say this is movement phase or something.
No, if they did that, that would make life a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, and I think if you got the most recent ones at the end or the beginning, depending which way, it then makes it easier to backtrack the rule. Because I'll be like, oh, I know there was a rule that came in 2018 or whatever for this roughly, because that's when we were all crapping ourselves about Nation of Wrath. Like I know it'd roughly be there.
Yeah.
But,
no, if they had subheadings like movement phase, shoot phase, combat phase, like the heroic actions and stuff like that, then I think they would be a lot easier to digest.
Yeah, and even like you could go into like the faction lists and go like in the armies one, you can go sort of Durin's folk, not that they're called Durin's folk, Khazad-dûm, minus turf, blah blah blah.
Yeah. No, I think that would be a good way of doing it. Yeah. So another thing about pre-tournament is make sure you pack everything. Tape measure, dice, minimum. Like you don't want to.
I've forgotten one of them. Like
you don't.
I now actually just have like
dice.
tape measures that I personally leave in my car.
Yeah.
So I know I've got one when I go to an event.
And something to track your might, will, and fate. They're
pen
like
and paper, the most useful thing.
Pen and paper, yeah. Although
I will tell you.
Come on to that.
I will tell you what I picked up after seeing a guy at Ardacon with one.
Oh, have you got the scribbly board?
It is a scribbly board, and there's my light. And if you literally just scribble on it, you can do whatever, and you press the button up here. Oh, I got to unlock it.
Oh, you've broken it already.
And it goes away. So at the start of each game, you can go
Out of interest, how easy is it to accidentally unlock it or forget to lock it?
It's a little slidey thing on the back that's pretty stiff.
Because I was going to say, because I just got this image of me leaning on the table, accidentally pressing the button, be like, well, everyone's out of Mike Williams' fate now.
Yeah, so you can literally go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because I'm not spaced out very well. And there's Imrahil. Like,
Mhm.
Go
and
backwards.
then,
That's
yeah,
all right.
because cameras. And then you can just click, and there's the start of a new game. And I saw a guy use it and was like, that's really cool. And I found this on Amazon for about £8.
Is this going to be another new
cool.
sponsor?
No.
I hope so.
No. So yeah, if anyone's interested, I can put the link in the Discord.
Are you sure it's not a new sponsor?
No.
Yeah, one other pre-tournament thing, probably the most important. Do not come and stink. Wear your deodorant,
Yeah.
because it's the most unpleasant, unholy thing to have to deal with an opponent. Every time they lean over the table to move a model, you get a mouthful of armpit.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure you have some kind of deodorant or something in your bag. That's always handy.
Sometimes it's a hot day. Sometimes the
Actually,
public transport's crowded.
Yeah.
There are
got-
accidents.
I'd say it kind of goes into another thing I was going to talk about, but generally, the biggest mistake I see people make when they go to an event is one, they don't sit down when they can, sort of at a gaming table, and they always lean over. That will give you a bad back. And two, they don't drink enough.
Yeah.
Like, so to give you an idea, according to my Fitbit, so I've got statistical research. So when I went to the recent Into the West,
Yeah.
so do you think you burn many calories when you're at a wargaming event?
Yes.
But do you think most people would assume?
No.
So-
They do mentally, but
So-
not walking
oh,
anywhere.
On average, on an active day when I've played squash or something like that, in the week preceding, I was burning between 3,200 calories to 3,600.
Yeah.
On the Saturday at Into the West, I burnt 3,928 calories. And then on the Sunday, admittedly, I did do a night out as well, but I burnt 4,964. And then when I was at
Grey Havens.
Grey Havens, the first day I didn't do a night out this time. I burnt 3,784 day one and 3,400 day two, which just shows you how much active stuff you're doing, just stood up, walking around, all that, even though it may not
Yeah.
feel like it. So people often get dehydrated, which means you'll get irritable.
Yeah.
You smell because you're sweating a lot, which is why
Yeah.
the deodorant comes in and all that. So it's basically just look after yourself because
Yeah.
it'll make your day much nicer as well as everyone else's.
So that's your pre-tournament prep. Right, you've arrived at a tournament, or no, you're on your way to the tournament. Don't be late.
And also make sure you have a shit before you go to the venue.
Oddly specific. Sounds like there's a history there.
Well, put it this way. I'm not going to say
everyone
that.
does it.
Yeah.
That's
But when
the
you've only got one or two toilets when you're at a venue, like
yeah.
everyone arrives after doing a 2-hour car journey or whatever, and it's just like you need the loo. There's going to be a queue, and that's a lot of like
Excrement.
deposits to be made.
Yeah.
Which, if some people who go to wargaming events haven't maybe had a curry the night before or something like that, it's not always the most pleasant cubicles to be in.
No. Yeah, definitely like yeah, don't be late. Just regardless of like if it's traffic or whatever and you can't help it then fine. But yeah, it's just
I'm not even sure that comes under etiquette. It's like they're having a shit, but it's just they're going, no, it's just tournament advice now.
yeah. Yeah, etiquette and advice today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also add to the hydration thing, make sure you have a good breakfast for similar reasons, because you will run out of energy and you will make life unpleasant for everybody.
Yeah.
Game 4, day 1 is the most
That's where
potentially
people are going to be late.
argumentative game
Yeah.
for those reasons.
No, Michael's made a good point of pre-tournament stuff. Printing out 6 6 of your army list, or however many games there are, but and having circles next to them for Might, Will, and Fate instead of trying to write them out before each one. It's something I used to do again, and just it gets lost in the nonsense that is life before a tournament. So, but yeah, that's a good one. And he's also said previously, give print enough army lists of yours that you can just give to your opponent.
Yeah, I try and do that.
So you just go, right, keep it. I don't care if you want to just bin it, but there is my whatever.
So they can use it to mark down your Might, Will, and Fate, and you both keep track of it.
Yeah, exactly. Another good point. Bring objective markers, even if they're coins or whatever.
Yeah, so I was going to say, I always have coins in my wallet, and I don't have objective markers, but it works just as well. Heads is for good, tails is for evil. Yeah. And then I always get to make a joke as that we're playing for 2p coins or something like that, and if you claim the objective, you get to keep it. But,
you must be
give myself some motivation to make sure I win.
Man.
I tried to convince my opponents to put their own 50 quid notes down instead.
Yeah. No, as a TO, Josh has made a good point. Make sure your tables are announced early, for not just in the morning, but for any game. As soon as you've got that last score in, ignore everything else and get your table in order to give your players.
Even if there's a fire or something like that, ignore it. Make sure the tables are
Agreed. Because it's forever frustrating knowing, there's 5 minutes till the next round. I have no idea what table I'm on.
Yeah. So should we actually get into the game etiquette stuff now?
Yeah.
So one investment I made is I got a bag of 1,000 sort of 5mm diameter little rubber bands in all different colours for about 2-3 quid off Amazon. And you can just go okay, so the red ones have all got spears if you need to. There's a hook, that guy's got the objective, whatever. And I've just given out a handful to every opponent I've played for 3 years, and I've still got hundreds of the bastards. But they are so useful.
It sounds like you need to go to more events again, CJ, just to get rid of them.
It's been so long.
No, they are actually. I don't have any myself, but they are useful. Shall I tell you? They're so much better than the actual prone markers and stuff like that you get now. What was
the General's accessory pack?
Yeah, I don't like the prone markers. One, they get knocked and stuff like that, and they just take up space which isn't there most of the time.
So
the loom bands are good.
The main ones I use from the General's accessory pack are the objective markers, and I use the prone markers, but not massively often. So
we're at the tournament.
Yeah, we're at the tournament. You're not late. You've registered.
I've had my shit.
You've had your shit. You are going to your table. What do you do, or what should you do as you approach the table?
Hello.
Very open.
Are you Dewi? It depends. Introduce yourself to whoever you're playing in the correct health and safety, COVID safe environment measures.
Yeah.
Lick them.
That's what I used to do.
That's what you used to do.
I had people giving me those elbow handshakes at work today, and it was just the most awkward.
It is a bit weird, isn't it? Especially if you fist their elbow. It's a bit well, this is weird.
Just grip their elbow and shake it.
What do you do in hockey? Do you tap sticks?
Tap sticks or fist bump.
Yeah, because we do tap rackets now. Squash.
It was very strange when it first came in last March, and we were because we had one league game the week before lockdown, and it was fist bump, handshake, smack stick, and no one knew what to do. But no, fist bump is generally the one. But if you know your opposition, then you probably give them a little cuddle. But
as you hug them in, you're going, I'm going to fucking.
It seems weird to me that violent sport like hockey, you would give people an incentive to swing at each other.
Well,
it's a great sport.
I had a mate at uni who played hockey who pretty much lost part of his finger and has like a massive scar on his face just from the year that he was playing hockey at uni.
I've seen
It's
someone,
only a year because he was injured for all the other times from all his
I've
hockey injuries.
seen someone get hit in the teeth with a stick.
Oh, I got hit in the mouth by a squash racket and lost part of my gum when I was like 10. It's great. It was
You
like
know,
hanging
squash
off a
that-
little bit
squash
for
that
like.
really violent sport.
It is pretty dangerous in terms of it's a racket sport, which instead of being in opposite places, you're swinging in exactly the same area as
I
another
know.
person.
It's not even a big court either.
No.
Oh dear.
There's a great video of a guy called Cameron Pilley and his brother. They're Australian. It'll
Obviously.
make sense in a minute. So Cameron Pilley had the world record for a while of the fastest, hardest hit squash ball.
Oh wow.
And his brother lost a bet, so they got him to stand at the front of the squash court, and then he basically just absolutely wallops shot into his back, and it like instantly blisters with like sort of a couple of centimeters deep into his back just from being hit by them.
Oh.
It's great. It's what I show everyone whenever
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm interested in getting squash. It's just like, yeah, just watch two Australians beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah. So
Like
Anyway.
Josh's bow like a samurai warrior.
yeah.
I used to
How's
do
that?
karate when I was little. So
Yeah, so
Oi.
did I. Yeah, so did I. Yeah, so as a small kid bowing to some other small kid, you're a bit like, this is a bit strange. But so you've arrived at your table, you've introduced yourself, obviously being polite and whatever.
That wasn't part of the deal.
Make sure you engage with your opponent, because
Yeah.
I know it can be, especially if you go to an event with your mates or something like that, or there's someone on the table next to you that you know, it's
Yeah.
quite easy to end up chatting to them, and then your opponent's just sat there. It may be their first event, they may come down on their own, and like you're not intentionally ignoring them, but you can do by
But
accident.
you can ignore them, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I know what you mean. That's a very good point. Just be polite and, like you say, just kind of try and get them excited for the game you're about to have. Because people
Spike them with Viagra.
Yeah.
Let the trash talk commence.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like if you can have a laugh and a joke and a bit of a jibe is always good, especially if you know them.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
at this point as well where, as someone who's done quite a lot of events and I go competitively, I gauge what my opponent's attitude towards going to the event is.
Yeah,
So you
Mm.
can talk about like the hobby, their army, and that with them.
Yeah.
And usually,
Mhm.
depending on how they talk, you can tell if they're sort of just there to play games, if they're there to try and win, if they're there because they've painted their arm and it looks really cool, and sort of also if they're new to the game or stuff like that. So it's kind of like it helps me know what sort of attitude I should be taking into the game.
yeah,
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
getting to the crux of why I
Slow
particularly
build up.
wanted to bring this topic forward.
yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, like you say, being engaging. Michael's made a very good point. If you know people's names, write it down. Don't
No,
be
what
calling.
my brother does generally do the best thing now is that he puts like in your secret mission patch, you get 2 name tag stickers with your name on and your player number, and it's got 2 because obviously you take day 1 off and then you still got 1 for day 2. But the amount of times that saved my ass, and I'm just like, there you go. And then they slightly move the jacket, Josh. And it's just like, yeah. But no.
Yeah, like you say.
Sorry, I love Josh's response there.
Yeah, ask them what their favourite model is, and then mercilessly slaughter it.
Yeah, that's a
Matt's-
psychological win.
Yeah, I think Matt's hit it on the head straight away. Like, I know I'm like a bit like you, Ali, and kind of
Incredibly attractive.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
oh yeah. No,
Yeah, deniably English.
Don't. Oh, I
Definitely.
can boot you. But try to have fun, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're going for the event win, like before you've even turned up, you're like, right, I'm going to win the event, or try to win the event at least, or whether you're going for a fun list or a painted army or whatever. Don't deny your opponent fun.
Mhm.
there's
It's
ways
their
of, there's
hobby as much as yours.
yeah, there's ways of playing horrible lists that still keep your opponent involved.
Hmm.
Like there's ways of saying things and rolling dice and reacting to dice is the other one. Like there's ways to make it fun for both of you.
I feel like CJ's getting like warmed up. He's ready to
It's gonna
unleash
There's,
his.
explode.
there's a couple of flies in here that keep going around.
Oh,
that
I
are
thought
going
it was
to
you getting warmed up. Like,
No,
um,
it escaped me. No, the best players can. When I first went to my very first event, it was Ardacon 2017. So
was that actually your first event?
Baptism by bloody fire. Yeah. The first person I ever spoke to, apropos of nothing, not knowing who the hell he was Ed Ball. Went and sat with him in the lounge in Friday night, Thursday night, whatever it was, and he just got chatting with me and explaining the newer models that I'd never seen before, like the Iron Hills Chariot, and how I should deal with them with my list, which was just Saruman, Grima, Ugluk, and Vrazku, and some basic Uruks. It was just getting along to have fun. He said an interesting thing to me, which has stuck with me, which was that tournaments are about 60% people that are there for just to muck about. There'll be about the top 5% who are there to win, will kick your ass, but make sure you have a good time doing it. And then the rest think they should be in that top 5% and play like bastards. And he's not too far wrong, to be honest, in general.
I'd actually probably say that's quite a good summary.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The person that basically has caused the most grief was actually my second opponent at that tournament. I had no idea who he was at that time either. But when I said I was a new player, I didn't really know what I was doing. And he was playing some ungodly filth combo of elves and dwarves with a couple of storm.
I honestly thought you were about to say elves and Helmingas. Then
But yeah, as soon as I said brand new first tournament, second game, his eyes just lit up, and then he just applied as much pressure as humanly possible to sweep the 12-0 and just get me out of there. And it's just okay. That's my second game introduction to this, and some players are like that. They're just desperate to win.
Yeah, it's very much. I don't know about you, Ali, but having played on the tournament scene for quite a while, and would say I'm a relatively good player. If you play someone who's brand new, or a list that your list is going to do really well against, kind of, I try to get the win, or not confirm it, but at least have it like 90% in the bag, as much as possible without being a dick, but not push it.
So, actually, a good example, and I don't think I might mention it. I played Ewan at your event.
Yes.
It was like his first proper game ever.
Yes.
Like, he knew the rules roughly, like enough to turn up and play a game, but he had generally no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
And he ended up playing me round one, which, in terms of, in one sense, it's good when you are in that situation because you can play players who don't know the rules very well, and then you kind of just learn bad habit rules if that's what your first game experience is. But what I do in those situations, I think, is the way that you should always do it. Is I'm playing to win. I'm not going to smash him, but I also make sure he's involved in the game.
Yeah.
So it's there going. It's always there going. Do you want to do a heroic move so you can do this first, or do you want to do a heroic strike? Bearing in mind, I may do this or something like that.
Yeah.
It's basically just almost making sure he's making a decision and he has the information which they may not have because they haven't played the game before. Because I don't like playing a game which I know I'm just gonna like. I don't have to do anything for. It's almost like I'd rather play myself a bit on an assist for my opponent and make sure that the game's played properly.
You'd rather win with your opponent knowing everything your army can do, rather than just because when I play my Angmar, I'm like, right, that's a monster, terror, fight 6 with Birdo, fight 6, strength 6, defense 6, 3 wounds, 3 attacks, kind of a hero troll. And then I say the Barrow Whites, what they can do, and they're like, oh god, they're grim, and I'm like, yes, but that's the only thing they can do. Like, if you get through that, then yeah, fine. And like Josh says, care more about the game than the result. Obviously, if you're trying to go for wins, go for the win. That's fine. Just don't make it like demoralizing is probably the one.
Yeah. So, should we go through specific bad etiquette experiences we had, but not we're sort of naming the experience, not the actual player or the army, if that makes sense. Because it's really unfair on Steve Bonner, Josh Devoy, Michael Haskell, Matt King. if we just point out all the times they've been dicks in games.
One interesting point before we crack on with that, Michael said that he doesn't note down his opponent's might, will, or fate. And do you guys? I used to.
Genuinely, one, it depends on who I'm playing.
Entirely.
How many heroes are just in the game.
Yeah.
And how hungover I am.
Like, I think I've got pretty good at remembering my opponent's heroes and what they've done with those heroes in games. Because I had it quite a few times. I think there was one instance at Ardacon where someone's gone, oh, I've got one might left. I'm like, are you sure? Because you've done this heroic move, you've done this heroic combat, and you've used a might here. And they're like, and if you clearly explain where they've used their might, then they kind of go, yes, agree. And like, it's simple things like you forget to mark it off your paper. We've all done it.
See, if I say I'm playing actually sort of a competitive game, like I'm playing Will, Ed, Jay, one of the sort of bigger names, even though they're all very short names, I realise. I will keep track of their might, will, and fate as well. It's actually almost hangover. It's one so I know just by looking at the sheet without having to ask them, because often if I go, has such and such got any might left, it could also indicate a tactical thought I'm having around that area.
Yeah.
And also too, it's from where ring race have been used so often.
Yeah.
It's just like I would say back when I play Flying Circus and that, it's quite easy to make a mistake. So it's usually at the end of each turn or every other turn, I'll be like, just to clarify, I've got the Witch Kings on 12 might. 12 might? Yeah. One might, 12 will, 1 fate. He's on that. And it's just sort of like cross-reference between the both of us.
Yeah, I think for Will on here, for Will on ring race, it is pretty important for both players. But I think
mistakes get made. But for me, it's because the one I played second at that Ardacon, who's going to become a repeat character, I'm going to call Player X, has tried to cheat me on that a number of times. Just like, oh no, I've still got this. Oh no, you never caused that wound. That kind of bollocks.
We didn't play at Ardacon, did we, CJ? just double checking it wasn't me.
I'll tell you two, it is off camera. But
like I think
for our Patreon subscribers, you can get like the name and shame session afterwards.
Oh, we are not. No, we do not have a Patreon. So yeah, like it's definitely a good idea to keep track of your opponent's might, will, and fate. I'm pretty sure Michael Haskell won't mind me saying that being near the top, of the tournament, it's a bit more important.
So the one that I've noticed Jay does, he keeps track of all the wounds as well, or like the kills on his paper.
I've started doing that. Having seen Ed do it, it's so much easier, and I just clarify it at the end of most turns, to be honest.
I've tried to do it. I just can't get in the habit of doing it reliably, because I just forget. And I think it's just I just look at the dead pile, and usually most people will organise them into groups of like 5 or 10 or something like that.
See, people who don't do that annoy me.
Yeah, but I generally I just request and go, oh, can you just...
Yeah, no. I will request. I'll be like, can you just shuffle them into like some kind of number order so I can quickly count?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I started keeping track of number dead, not number of wounds caused. unless it's Lords, obviously. But
I do note down though at the beginning of the game now I always did like breakpoint, but I do 25% as well now because of where it's so relevant for game end. So I like what my 50% and 25% is, and what my opponent's 50% and 25,
I always
or
do
33
50.
if it's Isengard as well.
Yeah. What I also do is I write, like, say I had like 37 models in my army, and it's 19 to break me. I always put 19 and then put 19 dead next to it. So like my tally is how many are dead, and I can quickly. I don't have to go. Oh, is it 19 or 7 or 18 or whatever? So yeah, and it also, like Josh said, for things like recon, where models still count towards the model limit, having that kill tally is actually really useful. So
people not put their recon escapees in a different pile to their
I
dead
do,
tally,
but I suppose it can be easy depending on how much space you've got. I'm guessing is on that. But to be fair, in that situation, I normally just mark down the models that have gone, how many models have gone off the board.
Yeah, like I say, either way, I
just do what's good for you, but it's one of those things to be aware that you may need to keep track of.
Yeah,
it probably is a top sort of 5% thing where you are keeping a live tally of how far
I've only
your
seen
opponent is away.
Jay do it regularly. I haven't actually played Ed enough really recently.
I saw Ed doing it once, and I was like, "That's a really good idea and really useful." And it's just a habit I've got into.
Yeah.
I only do it at tournaments.
Should I tell you what I would do? Because Michael Haskell was printing off the sheets with the little circles. I'd like to do that where I've got a circle for every single one of my models.
Yeah.
And then I can just, because I prefer colouring in to like marking a dash.
Yeah.
I just check at the end of turns. It's like, how many are you away from breaking? Yeah, there we go then.
But then, for me, it's just a case of making sure my tally matches what they've got. And obviously, when dismounts come into it and they're all in the same small tray, it can become.
This is why people should just not take mounted models.
Yeah,
it's complicating.
Yeah. Steve Bonars jokingly said, "Player X." I've met him. Lovely guys who's playing on the table. The problem is that fits it as well. So there are a lot of people like that, annoyingly, where they're like, I'll be nice to you now, but now I need to win.
That's one thing. With any person, there are good days and bad days, and good games and bad games.
Definitely.
And sometimes they can lose to you and be perfectly pleasant. Other times they can lose to you and be not. And it kind of links it. It could be because it is, for example, game 4 and they're dehydrated and they're more easily agitated, and also you may be as well, and then it's just like grating on each other. Or it could be like just, I don't know, any sort of external factors. I always think it's worth taking that into account.
Yeah, and like I said,
that may not be them. It just may be that one time that you've played them.
Yeah, and I think it's the mindset you've gone to the tournament with, and making sure your opponent's aware of that. So I know me and you have played CJ, and we both were going to a tournament to win and to do well, and we built lists that way. And
did either of you?
I certainly didn't. I got walloped.
Third or second, I think, in the end. I honestly can't remember. But it was one of those things. It was like, well, and I think we said to each other at the start of the game, like, right, good competitive game, and there was a non-channeled Fury attempt.
I forgot it. That's mean. You're not going to let me do it. Boo.
Yeah.
It was okay. We're not name and shaming other people, but
we can name and shame Dewi for being.
Well, I was going to say, going it from my angle, I think where I first got into it, like this was a hobby I picked up when I was a teenager in school, and lots of us in the kind of tabletop wargaming community, sort of nerdy at school or whatever, used to being good at school, successful at whatever, or and then you play SPG and it's like, oh, I'm clever at outdoing my opponent with these tactics and these amazing and potentially what it can wind up doing is being linked to your sense of like self-worth.
Yeah.
So then I think a lot of players potentially in wargaming across all kinds of games get a bit like, you see the salty rage noobs on YouTube, those kind of compilations.
Yeah.
People that don't really have a good amount of, I don't know, was it life well adjusted?
Yeah.
And
social skills.
Yeah. And so for me, that was a little bit, because when I got back into SPG about 4 years ago, I had been incredibly ill. I'd basically bombed out of my degree at the time. And this was something I picked up and was like, oh, I'm actually quite good at this. And now it's, and then I would take everything very seriously, and it would be like, oh, if I don't win, then it's, it's taken a while to sort of work through some stuff. And then also Sam Huddy got into my life in a big way, where he got me to play the scenarios in the back of lots of the source books.
Oh,
and
nice.
He was teaching me about how, okay, you can set this up that Theodred will definitely die at the start of the Forwards of Eisen, or we can have it so that he runs straight into Ugluck and we have a one-on-one, have a bit of fun that way. And it took me quite a long time, but he persevered, and now it's just like,
Almost
this
sounds
is
like
a
the
game.
speech you're gonna make, like when in your wedding vows, with just like, I was in a
No,
dark
so-
place at the time, and he
I'm
saved
just
me.
making the point that
Yeah.
actually a lot of us come from a similar background,
Mm.
and we like a taste of success.
Yeah,
But then
most definitely.
we, in my case, I just needed somebody to sort of demonstrate you can just have fun. It's a tabletop game
Yeah.
with dice.
This relates actually to something I know I've discussed with Dewi before, because I always think the competitive gamers who generally are never an issue to play against
Mhm.
were often competitive sports people or in some other field when they were younger.
Yeah.
So, for example, like Dewi's played a lot of hockey and all that stuff. I played a lot of squash, world champion, played a lot of rugby, and I don't know, when I was a kid doing tournaments and things like that in that field, I got used to and had to learn how to lose,
Yeah.
because you just do when you're doing that. So it doesn't have to be like sports, but it could be any sort of similar thing. And I think it just takes time for people to get used to competition and the idea that you will lose, and if you do,
Yeah.
you're not a worse person for it.
Yeah.
I do have an exception to that, because the rugby team I was in lost every game for 5 years that I played for it. So you do get a bit like,
Yeah.
I'm too used to losing now.
Yeah,
So
it can become a habit.
I want to do something where I'm good.
No, if
you've won some things and lost.
Yeah.
If I remember our game correctly, TJ, we ended up having a really funny game, because in the end, like, all it was Cole winsing a shaman backwards. And then I ended up having Legolas running like hell away from the Goblin King, who very, very nearly got him. And like, we ended up having a good game, and it was kind of one of those. And it's been called out to me as well. I've played the ETC and I've called Heroic Move, but not said with me, and
Oh god.
and got caught up on that. And it's like, and this was in the old edition where it didn't specify essentially if someone's going to call it, assume. Essentially, the new rule will say assume they're going to call with me.
As the first victim of that in the GBHL, if you're doing that as a person,
yeah,
because you feel like you need to win, you don't deserve to win the game.
I can.
In all honesty,
I think like being brutally honest and not trying to blow my own trumpet. If I had called with me on the two, because I did it twice in the same game against Mick, I genuinely think I would have beaten him.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. If you are doing that, like, there's a difference for me between a heroic channel, which you forget to call, and then you're moving the model.
Yeah.
Because usually that's not, like, that's a genuine sort of thing. If you're doing a heroic move, and the person measures 6 inches all the way around the model and stuff like that, it's there going, they clearly are calling with me.
Yeah.
And if you're being so anal specific to say that they haven't, you're not really winning the game of SVG. You're playing something else, which isn't the sort of the way. And then that's where I draw the line. It's there going, like, if you're doing it because you're worried you're losing, that you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it because that's just how, like, you would normally play, then that's fine. But,
yeah. Like, things like that. Yeah, it's things that if you start doing something else and then go back, that's where I start to get an issue with it. Like heroic channels, Alfred's another one. Anything that happens like in the priority phase, but then
So
I don't
my
know.
ruling on this for me personally is if it hasn't affected any decision I've made at this point, I'm fine. This is me just personally. I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
right. Like I'm usually fine with someone going back and doing it because I'm there going, it hasn't affected anything for me.
So
On the like heroic channel one, for
Yeah.
example, or the priority phase stuff, usually that one can be relevant because it may affect if I do a heroic move or something like that to preempt so I can charge a wizard because I know you've done a channel, which I may not do if you haven't. But then,
So for example, Alfred, if your opponent starts moving models in the move phase and then goes back, but you have an opportunity to tag Alfred either with a guy, or you want to call Sapwill on your turn, but it hasn't been your turn, then what would you do?
So with Alfred, usually, one, I normally remind people of it because I know it's so obvious to forget. But it's going, usually it would come to like, I will remember my opponent when we go priority our heroics. And then it's just like, oh, you forgot Alfred.
But
and then I'll
Alfred
be like,
is before priority as well.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, and I usually go, oh, it's fine, just do it now because you're going to do it anyway. Because realistically, it hasn't changed anything. I haven't called any heroics. He hasn't called any heroics. The priority roll, that would be the same no matter what happened.
So my thing was, if the Alfred player goes first, has one priority.
If he started moving models,
Yeah,
then that's different because it could have impacted on what would have happened.
but say you can't get into combat with him, but you can cast Sapwill on him.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like as in, because so that probably wouldn't be. It's going for me. It's usually after the move, the heroic phase, as it were.
Yeah.
That sort of for Alfred specifically. That's kind of the last chance, unless if it's literally turn one and I'm over 24 inches away and there's literally nothing I could do different, and it wouldn't change anything.
I think that's different. It's when you get into those close range.
But yeah, no. For me, it's if my decision making's been affected, then I'll possibly call it out. If it hasn't, I just
majority of times I don't give a monkeys. I'll let things go. We'll be halfway through the combat phase and suddenly it'll go, oh, I forgot to shoot with that bow. And I'm like, well, look, there's a spare spearman here that hasn't been involved with. Have a pop. I don't care. It's just a laugh.
Actually, my favourite thing is the amount of times that me and my opponent will forget one combat and then we go into the next turn, do priority, start to move and go, oh, those two people are still in combat. Better finish that one quickly.
Yeah, all the time.
The thing is, that doesn't necessarily benefit anyone in that situation. Like, I've always wondered if someone would just be like, okay, we'll just have to say that fight this turn then. Like, as in,
no, I've always resolved those.
Yeah, no,
super quick.
I've always had, but there are situations where it could have impacted certain things.
It's normally like 1-on-1, way out on the flank.
Yeah, it's not normally an important one.
There was one opponent I had because I had Alfred who kept trying to rush priority. So it'd be like the end of the combat and then immediately go priority and throw it dice, and then you subconsciously just like, oh yeah, and you throw it, oh no, before priority, and you go, no, you can't have it. And it caught me out for about 4 consecutive turns. It was the most annoying bollocks.
That's playing it intentionally to catch you out.
I was going to say that is player. That's players using their it's them. I'm trying to think of the right word. But yeah, no, I agree. That is bad form on your opponent. And it's like rolling dice behind terrain and then picking it up and saying you've got a 5 or a 6. It's a similar thing.
Speed rolling.
Speed rolling. Speed rolling.
Yeah, no, always give your opponent a chance to look at, because actually it's not that I don't believe you, but for me, weirdly, my enjoyment comes from seeing the dice roll.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like actually. So I did a tournament on TTS and I played a couple of games sort of during lockdown. And one of the games that I played, we were rolling in real life and just taking each other's word for it, which like I agreed to at the start, but I realised I enjoyed it so much less, even though it was in theory easier for us to do that than to roll on TTS because I couldn't see all the dice rolls, and it kind of like just. I don't know. It kind of ruined some of the tension out of it, or like it just. And if things don't go your way, it's hard not to become suspicious when he's rolled 3 6s behind that terrain piece and you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to feel like I'm distrusting my opponent just because they generally people do roll 3 6s, so they possibly are telling the truth, but like it just happens. So just let people see the dice rolls and give them the opportunity.
I quite often hold my hand in the same position so they can see it and slide it out.
Oh yeah, no, I'll do that as well. And also, it is quite hard, especially on tabletop. Sometimes a stray dice will go somewhere, like and all that stuff. Yeah.
Another one before the game starts. Decide what each terrain piece is. Loads of people don't do it until halfway through, and you're like, "Oh, this is awkward."
Yeah.
So
is this deep water? Yes. Suddenly, all of Ed's Rivendell Knights have drowned, even though they've got expert rider.
Not if you're at Dewi's tournament. Dewi goes, "No, it's shallow." I was like, "But this is it. Like ruins all my heavy armor shield guys." It's like, no, stop trying to make it difficult.
Oh yeah, because you'll have dwarves, so everybody will go. It's got to be deep water. They're all gonna drown.
Yeah, I wanted it to be deep. But...
I've drowned Dwalin in a turn in deep water.
Oh, actually, one funny thing. I was playing Jay, and I had my eagles, and he was blasting my eagles so they were prone into the water. So I'd then have to take a swim test because they're prone, because he stood a much better chance of a 1 and 6 on a dice of killing my eagle by it drowning than like actually killing him with strength 3 Lake Town.
Funny.
That's hilarious.
So,
but yeah, I just wanted to point out. Sorry if you
carry on. Carry on.
That this stuff does wind up having genuine consequences, as much as we're laughing about it. Because I am very involved with the East Anglia Hobbit community, and they are, by and large, just casual players. They're there for a laugh, and you do end up with some people that come in taking it way too seriously and just being horrendous. And we have lost some new players.
I think you have to gauge your group. So I know we've recently got a couple of new guys coming into like a little Guardians gaming about here in Chippenham. Ewan being one, and Jamie Wiggins being the other, and they've not played much at all. And kind of, I've gone into games going, right, I'll take a substandard list so they can get to know the rules and all that kind of stuff. And then I think Ewan said, "Oh, I'm going to play this." And I was like, "Well, do you want me to bring out like my fiefdoms or whatever?" And he was like, "Yeah, go on then." And I was like, "Well, it'll be a harder game for you." He was like, "Yeah, go for it." And just play how I normally play, but kind of talk him through everything and what everything does. And then at the end of the day, it's dice. Like, that's just how like his Aragorn called a heroic combat against 2 Knights of Dol Amroth on foot, killed them both, went into 2 men at arms, lost and took 2 wounds. And then the next turn he did exactly the same, killed the first 2 he was in combat with, went to the next 2 and took another wound. And it was like you can't do anything about that. But yeah, just nice. Teaching him what the other bits do, and if you're like that, gradually ramping up the difficulty with new players. I know it's a bit outside of tournament etiquette, but like
I would like that option, to be honest. When I'm playing casual events, is to have one which is for new players and one because there'll be about 3-4 actual strong players, and you think, well, if I play the weak stuff, I'm going to get walloped. But yeah, it's not just newbies either, because I nearly took a hike towards the end of 2019. I played probably more league events that year than ever before, and I ran into Player X on 4 consecutive occasions and just got such a bad experience. it got to the point where I'm thinking I'm spending time and money going to these events, playing these games, and because I do okay, I finished reasonably well in GBHL the first couple of years I did it. I run into some of the people that are gunning for the podiums, and as a result, it just meant I was dealing with some really unpleasant people on quite a frequent basis, and I just wound up thinking I'm spending my leisure time having miserable. So by the end of 2019, I was almost resolved to just I've had enough. I can't be arsed with this anymore, and I pulled back a little bit. I now don't do GBHL, but I do fun.
Would you do GBHL 80s?
I don't know, because I think some people still do take those more seriously than they should.
Because I know in the south, I don't think we do anywhere near as much for the GBHL 80s, but it's one of those ones where you do see some like the basic ones that I've been able to go to. I see some lists and go, oh, that's quite not a list I'd expect at a GBHL 80 event. Just more sort of curious on that one.
It was quite impressive. You managed to play the same person at like 4 events in a row.
Yeah, I was about to say, bearing in mind, so me and Dave Farmer, like pretty much every event he's ever gone to, I went to as well. And until Preston, we'd never played each other at a GBHL scoring event. So to be able, and like we both go competitively, so it's not like he's sort of down there and then I'm up there. Like we're around the same tables, but that's impressive 4 times in 1 year to play a single player.
Yeah, it's now got to the point where I've sort of got a mental list of players where if I'm going to get drawn against them at an event, I will probably just say to the TO, give him 12-0. I can't be fucked. So, and if you, because you said about having a bad day, some people have a bad. No, if you've chosen to
there is a pattern of
that
behavior
way,
as well,
that consistently, I don't want to give you another opportunity.
I was going to say,
I'll go and watch my mate play.
Yeah, as a TO, if you came up and said that to me, I'd be like, kind of like trying to encourage you to play the game for a start because you both paid for a ticket. You'll like that kind of thing. But if you'd had numerous things, I would then probably try and talk to the other player and be like, look, just take it down a notch. And just play the game as if you were not at a tournament.
So this actually relates to a point that Michael put in the chat a while ago. It's like, as a TO, how do you address problem players?
I've not had to deal with one as of yet.
So I know. So it's I won't name the person, even though it's not actually that bad an incident, but they were playing a specific game, and I could tell that they were getting agitated. And like, there's more and more rules queries that were coming up and all that. And like, it was still pleasant enough game, but also I knew from history that they had a tendency that they could like become an issue. And I generally have as a theory before, like, just pull them aside and go, right, just take. You're getting flustered, you're starting to like rush things, you're basically making it unpleasant. So just make sure you have some water, calm yourself down, and go back into the game before you end up like causing an incident, basically. And like they took it.
Even if it's you go, right, your game is paused for 5 minutes. You will have those 5 minutes once the timer is finished. Like, so you'll have the same amount of time as everyone else. Just go and just reset.
Yeah, but that I've done that with a couple of people. Sometimes it would be more sterner than like in other instances. It all kind of depends. But generally, I've never had anyone actually have an issue as a TO because you're basically there going, you're looking out for their enjoyment as much as anyone else's. It's going, you're not enjoying it right now. Just take a breath and like think.
When the fun stops, stop.
Yeah, pretty much.
And also not to equate it to the seriousness of the reference, but like with the Me Too thing, where if you are having this problem with somebody that's really established in the community, has been a top table player for a long time, and lots of the TOs know him and are mates, you just feel like you're not getting taken seriously in any way.
Yeah.
So my biggest complaint
you've got to treat everyone the same.
Yeah, is that they can like often lean towards people that are established in the community or have big names because they're big personalities. And actually, if you're a player who finds yourself in that situation, it's quite hard, especially in the hobby like ours, where you don't often get. Not all players have like the self-confidence to is just to politely put forward your argument and assert yourself. And also, if it's so bad that it affects you, and it's for example, a GVHL event, you can actually just message the league and just say, this is an experience I had. We may not be able to solve it on the day, but we will sort of address and talk to the TO about it and say, this has happened.
Yeah.
And we
I wish I kept a document, just because I thought I've got to keep a record of this behaviour like they teach you with like workplace bullying and that sort of thing.
It's only happened twice, I think. But I
didn't know that was an option. So
yeah, no. Generally, there is a complaints process in place with the league, against TOs and players, and so and if it becomes a pattern of behaviour and it's not changed, then they can get banned from events or hosting events.
Well, I actually got rid of it because I thought, well, just sort of holding this resentment and vitriol isn't healthy.
Could have just sent it to me, and then I could have held your resentment for you.
Well, I'll bear that in mind for the future. Thank you.
But it is a thing which is in place, but it's possibly also not fully known about. Like, as in TOs know about it, but then they're not, because you don't. It's not a thing that comes up that often. So it's not
it shouldn't be known about for a good reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said,
it did get to the point where I was thinking I'm going to have to start bringing a camera on a tripod to events, because the amount of people trying to cheat or be horrible that I was running into was just getting to ridiculous proportions, and I was going to do it like, this is the EHC blog, this is me at an event, and really it's just my insurance purpose.
Yeah, I think you got quite unlucky. Like, not trying to downplay it in the slightest, but the same player 4 events in a row is spectacular.
Well, it wasn't just him, but yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's lucky as it is, but I like I say, I think most people who I've played where it's been a rules query and I've called them out on it, but like just like the Alfred thing, you kind of they go, oh, okay, and kind of you knock them down a peg if they're a bit too big for the boots, kind of thing.
Actually, on a similar note then, because I talked about what you can do as a TO / like the league can do. What tricks or stuff do you do when someone is crossing the line of etiquette? So you say you call them out, like, how do you go about it?
Well, in the case of player 8, the thing that came up I can most vividly remember was me scoring the crucial kill wound on one of his big heroes, and then he vehemently denied I'd ever caused one of the wounds in a previous round, and then he just literally got into my face and said, look, it's going to be your word against mine, you can call it TO, but he'll side with me.
That's
okay.
That's
that one.
That's bad form. That's horrendously bad form.
So my tactic has been to just look at them with disdain and then move on, which probably isn't that effective.
If someone starts to be a little bit like that, I try and play to the rule, to the law, like as written. Go and like be like, I've moved him, and then move him back because I don't want to. No, you've moved him. Like, you just call them up on things like that, and they soon start overthinking, and the pressure then goes on them because they're having to think through everything.
I also moved my models when he thought I wasn't looking. It was just, how badly do you want this win?
I mean, I generally thought you didn't see me doing that, but I've talked about it before, maybe on the chats. Like, I've kind of developed a tactic of I will essentially publicly make it known that they're being that guy or being a dick. Yeah. So it's they're going like, so things like the with me or like those models aren't perfectly in base contact or something like that, and so they're claiming you don't get sphere support or just anything like that, where it's they're going, the intention is clear, you're being a dick, I'll basically go loud enough so the tables next door can hear going like, do you want to be that guy?
Yeah.
Yes or no? If you're happy being that guy, I'm fine with us playing like that, but it's a public declaration that you are that guy at the moment. And
Yeah.
usually most people at that point will back down and be like, yeah, no, okay, I won't be that guy. Because as soon as like it's there going, it's not just between you two, that
Yeah.
your opinion of them is like you're being a dick, and it's going to be other people's, and people tend to be a bit more self-conscious about their own actions.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've never had, since I've done that, I've never really actually had an issue with anyone in a game that's gone beyond in terms of their actual being a cheeky sod, as it were,
Yeah.
in the game itself.
I was gonna say I don't from memory, I don't think I've ever had someone try to cheat a game, if you will, like moving models extra or whatever, like on purpose at least. Like people always move their models a little bit more, a little bit less over turns. The only thing that I've ever got really annoyed with is people not playing at a normal pace.
What's deliberately slowing down? Like
sometimes it's not
not
even deliberate.
No,
is the issue.
Yeah, that's the most recent one has been. It wasn't. I don't think they were being deliberate, but it was just like we've deployed, we've played 2 turns, it's taken half an hour, and all I've done is move, and we started 24 inches apart. Like, like
you move and you shoot a few bows. Next turn should not be any longer than 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. And it's like, cool, alternate warbands, but we're deploying on this 12-inch line, and then I'm moving forward, and you're shuffling around. Like, that's the annoying thing. But Josh did make a point. People who slow play
they try
as
it
a
on.
tactic. Some people, so like Josh was saying, examples are checking rules all the time, calling TOs over relentlessly. Like, they're 2 clear tactics that that I've heard of.
Yeah. So just kind of slightly backtracking, because I just had a thought on like. So CJ, you're on about you would rather give them a 12-0 win. See, I kind of completely understand why, but I've always had the mindset of I don't want to give them what they want.
Yeah.
If they're that guy. So it sounds weird, I'd rather put myself through like the pain or the suffering, as it were, to deny them the win, if that makes sense.
You're more mentally resilient than me.
No, I think I just annoy winding dicks up more than you do, which balances it out. But generally it's just there going like, because it basically, if they get what they want, it encourages that behaviour. And then like it snowballs, and then it affects other people.
It's just similar to I think it's very similar to playing a close game, losing it, like knowing you've lost, and then just giving up, and then the VP diff just does this. So instead of losing like 7-5, you end up losing 12-0. Like I think that's a similar mentality. And like I said, I'm all for the, if you're gonna beat me, you're gonna get as little points as possible, and I'm gonna get as many points as possible. That's just how I play. And like I say, that comes back to sporting and playing against my brother and against my dad, and being like, if I lose, I ain't losing by much.
As I said, just because Lee's trying to chat, because Lee is the worst etiquette person I've ever played. He's an absolute dick. No, sorry, CJ, go on.
That is the reason I kind of regret that. That's what I've ended up resorting to doing, because I know it screws the TO, I know it screws the tournament.
But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, you do you, as in like what's best for you. But for me, I'm just saying, like, from my personal opinion, I'm kind of. It's also because I'm competitive enough. It's like I'm happy to put myself through suffering to like try and teach them a lesson. But I would also understand why people don't.
Personally,
that's why I still play Dewi.
Yeah, personality and mindset are different for everyone. And like I said, Josh is entirely on your side, CJ.
Yeah.
Like some people would rather be like, cool, I'll have like a 20-minute game and I'll go chat to my friend while he's playing. But other people are like, no, I'm not giving you what you want. But like I said, different bits and pieces, different things just affect different. Like I said, people have different mindsets, and that's why some people are like they are, and that's why some other people are completely different. So
Looping back to the slow play stuff,
yeah,
because there are a couple of players I know do play slow. The issue, and I kind of now mentally can prepare myself if I play them to go,
yeah,
I know this is going to happen. It's not necessarily an intentional thing. It can be very frustrating, especially in timed games.
yeah,
And also, it's just some people's brains work faster. Like at the end of the day, it's just sort of like, it's something that I never want to hold against someone, because it's not often an intentional thing. I mean, usually if someone's intentionally slow playing, you can tell, because it will get towards the end of the game, or even fast playing, like, and their pace will change. As in, like, the way that they're playing is different. They do the toilet ones and that. But usually, if it's consistent all the way throughout, it can just be frustrating, and it's there going. Especially when you know the rules and you play at a certain speed, like probably we're used to. It can get really frustrating when you're playing someone going really slow, because you're finding you're sat there not doing anything for like a long time.
yeah,
And but it's just one of those ones where you can't do much about it, and it's okay if I know I'm going to play a slow player. It's when you don't know.
yeah.
So it's like your recent experience probably is like you didn't know what it was like playing player Y. We've already got X, so
yeah, and I'd heard that good things about him, and I was looking forward to the game, and it was a bit like.
So it's a him. That now is it down to
Yeah.
ruling out about 3 people from the hobby.
But
It can't be Tanya, it can't be Jasmine, it can't be the wife of that guy.
Katrina, you mean? But yeah, like I was like waiting for a good game, and I think he was overly nervous about what my army could do. But there's a point where I'm not in range to do any spells, let alone see the model that I wanted to do something to. That it was a bit like, can we? And I just kind of tried to subtly encourage, going, have you finished your movement? Is it shooting now? That kind of thing, but not being like overly pushy, or not trying to be. But
so my one solution towards like end game, like time pressures, as it were.
So
like
this was a comment that came up earlier.
At the start.
When do you start a new turn near the end of a tournament game? And Michael's just brought it up again at the bottom.
Yeah. So one thing that I've done, and I do usually when I know it's going to be an issue, because often you can roughly gauge how long a turn's going to take, and if it's going to fall to 30 seconds, like a minute either way, is I'll generally go sort of nearly, say I'll be like, right, we've got 20 minutes left. I think we should be able to fit, let's just say, 2 complete turns of a game in.
Yeah.
Do you agree? And they go, yes. And then it's in that case, I go like, cool. So we agree we've got 2 turns left, and then that will be time. So even if, like, say we're 30 seconds in or out, we've basically agreed that this is a set number of turns we're going to play. Because then it means that, one, you're not rushing to get a dice roll in or delaying to get like a dice roll. It's kind of, you're both on the level playing field. You know, you've agreed like how many turns you should have. And that's usually solved most of those issues I've potentially had.
That issue, there is a infamous, if you will, instance of a player refusing to roll priority.
Yeah. Which actually, CJ, you know you're on about like you take a camera and it may stop them doing it. This was on camera.
This was on a live stream. Yeah. And you can clearly hear the player going, I am going to wait. No, it was to wait to roll his final wound roll.
Yeah, so the priority
in the
couldn't
previous
roll.
turns, the priority couldn't be rolled. For me, if I've got a minute 30 seconds left and we finish combat, you can roll
Yeah,
another turn.
The rules pack will usually state going like, or like the TO going, like if you start a turn before the time limit's up, then you start a new turn. That'd be whether it's 1 minute, 5 minutes,
Yeah.
1 hour 20.
Because
They're really that slow at playing.
if you've got 30 seconds left of a 600, 700 point game, there isn't one of you's going to be broken, like most likely. Like it's not, the turn isn't going to be as quick as long as people think. Like that's just, and Ardacon was interesting because I think James was saying when it was like 5 minutes or like 2 minutes left, he went, do not, across the tannoy, do not start another turn with 2 minutes left. But obviously there's a lot of players, so it's different. And he was saying like, and then he said like after like a couple of minutes, after like when time was up, he went, right, you have 10 minutes to finish the turn you're on, and then it's dice down. Regardless.
See, I've had the thing where like 15 minutes afterwards, the TO has the right to enforce dice down.
Yeah.
It's not like an automatic. It's basically if to keep the event on schedule.
Yeah.
If you run 15 minutes over time, but you usually should have resolved a turn by that. I would say though, like I find it weird calling. So from my perspective, if you call 2 minutes before end is when like your game's last turn has to start, and they're going, why don't you just take 2 minutes off the run time?
Yeah.
Because
I think
like,
James
just for me as a
trying
player,
to
I'd
get
rather run towards a countdown clock that I knew that was the like cut off. But it doesn't affect the game actually in any more than a psychological sense. But
I did run over by 20 minutes of one game. It was against Kieran Street. That's it. Yeah.
This is Player X, guys.
He's lovely. But it was Assassination for the first time that I've been played, me and him, and it was a 0-0 draw at the end. And the whole hall was like, we waited 20 minutes for a 0-0 draw.
Like that.
Yeah. See, Michael said it helps if the TO calls don't start a new turn. As a TO, when do you call that?
I do it at time.
Yeah.
So it's there going. Like,
so do I.
I'll do like 15 minutes left, time, don't start a new turn, and then like just finish the turn.
I'll say like, right, you've got. I've quite often called. So we had what, hour 45 for our game, Ali?
Yeah.
Well, we called hour left. We called half an hour left, like 15 minutes and 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
Like when you get to 5 minutes left, you should know whether you can get in another turn.
Which is when usually that helps with my sort of thing of where I'm like, I'll agree with my opponent at the 15, 10, 5 minute mark going, I think we get another turn. Do you agree?
Yeah. And to be honest, when you're on that last turn, post time, quite often there's not many combats that matter. It's the movement that matters. And then it's combats over objectives or against heroes for wounds or that kind of thing. It's not, so you can basically go, cool, 90% of these combats are completely irrelevant. Because especially if one's already broken, etc.
Or if both are already broken, doubly so. You just do the key ones.
Yeah, you do your heroes. If your heroes pass, you go, cool, those troops are fine. Right, I've got the odd troop here and there, and then your opponent goes, okay, you've tagged my heroes. Right, I've got a courage test to do, and it's not.
And also, just generally, if your TO is like pressure of time, you just do all the combats, which is going to affect VPs at the end. You don't need to do everyone. Most of the time.
Yeah, and I think that's what people who, not necessarily who don't play tournaments, but who don't realise that they don't matter.
Yeah.
Like
at that point of a game, anyway.
Yeah. Earlier in the game, do all of them. That's just.
Well, other than when we were on about earlier, we keep on forgetting like these random combats which are happening on the other side of the board. But
Could you have it so that 20 minutes before time, you just call out, you will play 2 more turns, which gives you the chance to run for your objectives, do whatever, and not rush to the finish?
I would not.
I mean, I genuinely wouldn't have an issue with that if that was in the rules pack.
If it was in the rules pack and you agreed to it when you bought the ticket for the tournament, fine. As someone who has played an Eagle Army, where you've got like 4 or 5 models. 2 turns, you can get a lot more than 2 turns. You could probably get 4 or 5.
Yeah. Fair point.
So, and if you're playing a horde, you might only get 1 in. So,
see, I actually quite like it in theory, but in practice, I think it actually causes more issues for a TO scheduling than the other way around. Because there's you could have 2 turns with Hobbits versus Goblin Town.
yeah.
Goblin Town is actually where I've seen this the worst. There was one person who became infamous for slow playing, so that his opponent didn't have a chance to break him, and also so that things like reconnoiter, he would just no, I'm going. And his opponent would go, well, I'll help you move. No, I want to do each of these individually.
I think I know exactly. Or at least I've played someone who's done exactly the same thing, and it's just like, so actually, Warhammer Fantasy is not even like in the game. There was a guy that played in my local community who, he sort of had disability, so he didn't have the full use of his hand, and he played a Skaven army for a while, and to be fair, he wanted to get his own models out and put them away, and it's just there going, you've got 200 models, can I please help? Because we've scheduled this game and we've spent more time unpacking models and packing them away than we have anything else. And it is kind of like one of those ones where it's just like, if you're in a situation you've got loads of models, I know people get a bit anal sometimes about other people touching the models. I personally don't, which is why I don't have an issue with it. But I will often say, and it's usually to stop me having to go around the other side of the board or like reach over and stuff like that. It's like, especially in Recon, can you just move those guys 6 inches towards the board edge or the objective or whatever?
See, this is where Ali shows he cheats because he only plays dwarves and he wants to move in 6 inches.
Wow. They were the ones who moved it.
Yeah, fair point.
If I were to ever play Goblin Town, I gave it a go because I play Moria, but honestly, Goblin Town is so boring. But if I ever play it, I always bring movement trays because I want to give my opponent a chance to break me and me a chance to score objectives.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
yeah, that's exactly it. And once you get within 10 inches of your opponent, start moving them off the movement trays. Like, it's not hard.
See, I never find movement trays actually speed it up for me because I spend so much time putting them on and then taking them off. I'm like, I could have just gone da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I generally also think it's a myth that horde armies take longer to play than non-horde armies.
I agree.
Well, when I used to use eagles, my turns used to last longer than when I do a normal army. And it's because you just get used to the speed of the movement and decision making.
Yeah.
The things that delay a game are important decisions, which you have just as many, if not more, in a lower model count army than you do in a higher model count army.
Correct.
Oh, definitely.
I agree with that.
Yeah, goblins is just like,
if you misplace one goblin and he dies because of it, it's not a big deal. If you misplace an eagle and it dies because of it, it is a big deal. So
like
I'm going to spend more time thinking about the eagle than I am the goblin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could probably play using like a dustpan or one of those pole things they'd have in churches.
Oh, I've always wanted to do one of those. Just like.
And it's the people. The other thing is, like, you've got a line of dudes. You move that guy 6 inches, and they're all going forward. You don't have to measure all the.
Oh yeah, you just put them in
line and push them up, like.
Or maybe do the 2 on either edge, so you know where it begins and finishes, and you can fill in.
Yeah.
But it's just. Yeah, things like that.
So just say I've probably only got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine.
Stuff we wanted to talk.
I think we're pretty much wrapping it up.
There's one thing we haven't talked about.
Yeah.
Which on to etiquette, which my biggest pet peeve is when I play people not who like you could say is overly competitive or stuff like that. Is when I play someone who doesn't try.
Yeah.
So this can be competitive players. It often is. You know, CJ, you're on about that 35% that you mentioned earlier. Or sometimes even then, it's actually like lower half the table people.
Yeah,
if they come up against, I can't even remember the percentages. But like I've had it quite often where I'll play someone. They go, basically, I'll just get an advantage in the game, and then they just give up, and then like they don't try anymore, and then and it's kind of there going like, I've come to the event like for a challenge. or like to play a game, if people give up and don't try, you've basically ruined my game. Like,
Yeah.
because you don't want to try because you think you're going to lose anyway. And it kind of relates back to what you're on about doing. Is like, even like when you get towards the end of the game, you may have lost, but still play the game.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know why you're there, to be honest.
Yeah, we had to ban a 40k player who turned up with like full Dol Amroth Knights, ran into Dan Rhea playing Eagles, just only Eagles, and he's going, "You know what you've done with your filthy flying army, you power gamer." We're all just laughing at him.
Yeah.
And he left after game 2 on a 4-game day.
Oh,
4-day event would be, well, that's hard to come.
yeah, actually it was, isn't it? but you know, that's another thing. Is like, I don't get people. Like, there's genuine reasons why you wouldn't turn up for day 2, but I've also seen it at 1 or 2 events where someone loses, and like a couple of games day 1 realize they can't win the event, and then they just don't
it's
turn
off.
up, or they do. And they're going, if you're genuinely only there to win the event, and bearing in mind these are often players who have never won an event, like
Yeah.
GPHL one at least, and it's there going, you're not there for the right reasons, and like you mess up a lot of things if you do that. For like the TO, you're ruining your opponent's fun. Like,
Did you get it?
I did.
Nice.
fly murdering bastard. But yeah,
Mosquito, actually.
yeah. Oh, in that case, it's fine. But yeah, no, it's like I dislike people who don't try, or also, if you're beating them, don't have a particular art of losing, to put it one way. It's they're going, who make their opponent feel like shit because they happen to have rolled better or are a better player than them. It's like learning to lose with grace is as important as learning to play the game properly, in terms of like, don't be a dick for all the other reasons we've discussed.
Don't take it seriously. This is a leisure hobby. And hobbies are supposed to be how your brain decompresses all the stress and the horror in the news. And no, hobbies should not be stressful.
Like,
it's a good motto.
The hobbies shouldn't be stressful, and also, no one's ever playing. Well, in SVG at least, no one ever plays for money.
Or not.
Well, prizes kind of.
But prizes isn't just like a cash.
Your livelihood isn't based off it. None of us are professionals.
Exactly.
And if your livelihood is based off winning that Weta statue, I'm slightly concerned about your financial situation.
Honestly, I was at a point for a little while where I couldn't get a job because of my illnesses at the time. So I was going to events at East Anglia, banking on getting a podium so I could sell that model later to pay for the train ticket and the price of entry, which is a miserable story to bring up. But yeah, there was at one point where it was like, I am pretty much relying on the wind to do this.
See, I'd say that's a semi-unique. Although saying that, as a student, I was broke going to event, but that was through my own fault more than anything. But yeah, and actually, just as the last point, you got to remember, when you play anyone, it's their hobby as much as it is yours. So you need to take into account why they're there. Whether that's because they want to play nice armies that are painted, that's why it's important to bring painted models to an event, I think. Whether they want a competitive game, they just want to laugh, whatever. Like, you need to take into account your opponent and what their enjoyment is going to be by your actions as well.
Absolutely. And to pick up Josh's point, is it etiquette or is it cheating? Now, a lot of the stuff I brought up is just base cheating, and it really does sort of gnaw at you like, what the hell am I doing? But actually, the way people behave, which you're talking about with the way that people choose to behave when they're on a losing end or on a bad streak of luck, is equally important, because that can ruin your day just as much.
But like you say, the cheating is it's the behaviour when they're called on it, and how they go about it. Like, if it's a tongue-in-cheek thing, like say we were playing a game, or me and Ali were playing a game, and you go, and you move, and Ali goes, has he moved too far and whatever. It's how you react to someone saying that to you, and the etiquette is essentially be nice, don't be a dick. Essentially is what we're saying. But I think we've covered loads of really good points tonight, and it's an interesting topic that we've discussed quite a lot as a four, like before streams and after streams, and it's nice to actually chat about it and not in a negative way. I don't think we've covered it in a negative way at all. I think it's all.
No.
I think the thing to remember, unless if you're CJ, like every event I've gone to, I may have one person I call is a sore loser, but they've never actually been cheating or sort of. It's never been an intentionally negative player experience caused by my opponent. Usually, it's just having the self-awareness to go, okay, I've got some bad luck.
Yeah.
But it's a game, and even those games happen rarely. And I'm been recently anyway playing at the competitive end of tables where people are going to be losing does make a difference or winning does make a difference of whether you get prizes or points for the league and stuff like that.
And I think the higher up the tables you go, the less leeway you give your opponent, which I think is perfectly fair, because if you're there to do it's the people. Some people who are in and around the middle to the bottom end of the tables who by chance get a couple of wins and end up at the top tables and then possibly have a negative experience is because they might not necessarily be used to being up there, and it plays slightly stricter is probably a way to put it.
A lot of top table stuff. Like I don't even think about it half time anymore. You go into the game and you go, like we were listening at the beginning, going, "What's that terrain?"
Yeah.
Like you're keeping track of both people's might, will, and fate. You just naturally do all this stuff because then it avoids any issues, and you just know to do that when you've been doing it.
One of the things I've started doing recently is being like, right, if dice ends up in any terrain, whether it's flat in that terrain or not, re-roll it. Just because it makes life a hell of a lot easier.
And I think that's what the experienced tournament players do, because they know. As in, and it's one of those ones where the less experienced or less competitive, or until recently players, they haven't done that, and that's where the issues come from. It's like you can preempt nearly any issue in SVG if you know it's gonna, like with another person, if you know it may happen. Obviously there'll be outliers still, like there would be anywhere, but usually, and I think that's why I don't really have an issue most of the time in 99% of my games, because I do that now against those against all my opponents. It's like, oh, we call that's that, this is the way we're doing that, and then you're solved.
I just want to thank you for indulging me. This is something that I've felt like I would quite like to put to a public forum at some point, because I've had all of these miserable experiences with the hobby that actually made me question what am I doing with this, and also potentially to share like my evolution, and just like if you identify with any of that, maybe work on it.
Talk to people, that's the main thing. Has our conversation tonight helped you?
This has been a wonderful form of therapy.
I was about to say, like, you're getting our therapy bill in the post. Like, you're almost on the lounge chair with how far your chair goes back.
No, like if we can improve your hobby and going forward in the game mindset and kind of we reassure you that not everyone is like Player X previously. Like that's.
Well, actually, honestly, I wasn't aware of the complaints procedure, and actually, you've given me some strategies for dealing with difficult people. So when tournaments are allowed and regular, I'll give it another spin. Why not?
I was going to say, do you feel like you would go to 80-point and 100-point events?
Probably test the water within 80 first,
and then
see how we go.
Yeah, that's entirely. I was going to say, don't dive straight in.
I'll put it down as a successful chat tonight.
Yeah, I think it's been really good, and we haven't talked about Hellmakers that much, so excellent. Anyways, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time.
I won't be here.
Oh, will you not be?
No, I'll be in Scotland.
Alistair. Okay.
I've heard such great things from Bono. I thought I'd come up.
But yeah, no, we'll arrange something for 2 weeks' time if we can. If not, I'll do some hobby streaming or something like that.
I mean, there is an outside chance that I'll get permission from like the girlfriend to on our holiday sort of go. Do you mind if I just shoot off for like 3 hours to chat
Yeah.
toy soldiers? But I think it's low.
Anyway, you start putting brownie points in now.
Well, I'm driving up to Scotland, so that's 8 hours worth of brownie points, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Crumbs.
Anyways, thank you all for joining us, and we'll